Welcome to 12-Minute Talks, where important information is shared in a short time period. Learn from other business owners, entrepreneurs, and experts about what they do to help you find solutions to everyday topics in 12 minutes or less. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening in on today's 12-Minute Talks podcast. We have with us today Gresham Harkless Jr. He is a blogger at cbnation.co, and he's also the owner and media consultant of Blue 16 Media. He's here to talk to us today about SEO strategies and how you are a media company. Gresham, thank you so much for being on today.
Lorena, thanks so much for having me on.
Awesome. So Gresham, before we get into all the details, very excited about your topic today because it's something that many business owners out there need to know about. Search engine optimization, how do I rank in Google, who should I be targeting, all these types of things. But before we get into that, I would like to know a little bit about you, your background, why you got started in business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I went to school here, but I had kind of like I graduated during the economic crisis, so it was kind of like a crazy time. So with jobs and, I bounced around to a bunch of different jobs. I ended up getting laid off from one job. I was going to get laid off from another job. So actually, I've always been a computer geek, always worked on the computers, built a computer when I was in high school, took computer science when I was in high school too. So one thing just kind of led to another. And when I was anticipating getting laid off again for like the second time in I want to say probably about 6 months, I actually went to this networking group. And I went there for the first time, and I was actually, the last job I had, I was actually doing cold calls. And I called somebody who was in this networking group, and his name was Mike Moss, and he brought me to this group of, business owners that meets, every week. And that's where I got, introduced to like networking, or even what that looked like. And I also, over time, started to realize that some of the things that I did as like hobbies, or just because I was interested in, actually could be businesses. And for me, not necessarily coming from that environment, I didn't know that could actually be something. So it introduced me a lot to that. And I started the blog. I started, doing the web design and SEO strictly from there.
Awesome. So yeah, I've noticed in the US for sure, there's been like a lack of talking to people about being entrepreneurs and starting your own thing, not necessarily working the 9 to 5. Right. At the same time, that's not for everybody either. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it takes a certain personality. But I have noticed this trend though of like I also graduated college during the recession, right? 2008, around there. And
Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of people like our age have decided to take control of their own futures and not really depend on others, because we saw, what happens to a lot of people that had cushy jobs and from one day to the next no longer had that. So tell me a little bit about your blogging website that you have, the Ceoblog Nation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you say that because you're exactly right, where there wasn't a lot of opportunity to know like what even an entrepreneur or business owner was. And when I look back when I was younger, like I was really young, I was probably around 10. I started like a family newspaper because my dad he was in the military. So he went to another country for a year. So this was pre all this technology. So I couldn't actually connect with him. We just did, weekly phone calls, but I used to send him like this family newspaper. So I created this family newspaper. And then I also would sell the subscriptions to my family members, and I would create it each month. So it was those little things that made me realize I had some of those tendencies. So fast forward, a lot of years later, when, like you mentioned, the economic crisis, the recession's happening, I started to read a tremendous amount just about like what was happening. And then I started to read a lot about entrepreneurship, and I realized I didn't really even know what that was. So I started to ask people who were running businesses, who were entrepreneurs or CEOs or whatever, just advice that they would have. So that's kind of like how the blog itself started out, where it was just me having a lot of interest in, what people did to be successful, what they shouldn't have done to not, to reduce their likelihood of being successful. Some of those landmines they could have avoided. And that really just laid the foundation for the blog. So I was, working one of those jobs the last jobs that I had, and I was freelance writing, doing a lot of business and entrepreneurship writing. And
Mm-hmm.
then I tore my Achilles tendon when I was playing basketball, and I had a lot of time on my hands. So that's when I started to use like the websites and the blogs to really try to do email interviews and things like that. But I was asking the same questions, like, why did you start your business? What
Right.
advice would you have for other business owners? So it kind of just, developed from there.
Yeah, and that's great. That's definitely one of the best ways to quickly learn what you should and shouldn't do is learning from others who've been there.
Hmm.
And so, Gresham, tell me a little bit about what you say that you are a media company for other business owners, right? And some of these SEO strategies that we could implement.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I've been talking a lot about, having a media company mindset and, have a site up called yourmedia.company. And the idea is really to figure out, a couple things before you actually jump into like any type of marketing that you're doing. So whether it be SEO or designing your website or doing social media, whatever that is, you want to have that kind of mindset where you're looking to get really clear on basically two or three different things. You want to get clear on your target market.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a phrase called the avatar where you're basically painting a picture of who your ideal client is. And a lot of times that evolves and that changes. But I usually say if you've been in business for, more than like a year or so, and you have clients that you love working with, that's really going to, direct exactly who your avatar is. So you figure that out. If you get really honest about what your resources are, because a lot of times, especially when you're starting a business, if you're bootstrapping it, you might have more time than you have money. But as you
Mm-hmm.
start to develop your business, you might end up having more money. So maybe you can hire somebody on, but maybe in the time being, you're just going to bootstrap and, build your website yourself, do things like that. And that's completely okay. But just understand like all the different opportunities that you have out there, understand the strengths and weaknesses of everything that you're doing. And then you want to get very, very clear on what your goal is. And if you can say, I want to make this much revenue, I want to make $100,000 this year, I want to make, $1,000 a month, whatever that might be, you want to get crystal clear on that because those three things are really going to direct all your different activities that you're doing. And, I break down, the steps of exactly how you can do that. But the big thing I would probably want to, let your listeners know is that I really compare what you're doing as far as building a media company to like if you're going to the grocery store to develop your favorite dish. Mine's has always been like sweet potato pie. So when you go
Good
to the
choice.
grocery store, you're looking for certain ingredients so that you can reach your goal. It's the exact same thing for marketing. What you want to do is when you get crystal clear on those three things, you figure out what ingredients are actually going to help you reach that because it doesn't make sense for you to be on Snapchat if you're trying to reach, 70 or 80-year-olds. Chances are they're probably not spending a lot of time there. Same thing with like SEO when you're really trying to figure out what keywords to target. You
Mm-hmm.
want to figure that out based off your avatar. You want to figure that out based off your goals so you understand exactly what that is. So I think a lot of people just jump in and they do everything because they hear that they should. When in reality, you should be thinking about your target market, your goal, and your resources that you have available to you, and then work backwards from there.
Perfect. So just to recap, the three main things business owners should be really focused on is one, figuring out who their target market is, creating like an avatar of what that looks like, right? Like their
Hmm.
income, where they live, their hobbies, that type of stuff, right? And
Correct.
then number two, you said was
Understanding like exactly what the resources you have at your disposal are, and that's time and that's money. Typically, that's usually what that comes down to.
okay, perfect. And then number three is your goals. What is it that your goals are for revenue, for income, and so forth. Did I get that right?
Exactly, you nailed it.
All right, perfect. So Gresham, that's great that you help other business owners really dive into that because that's the basis of anything, right? You can't just be on every social media platform if it's not going to serve where your clients are. That makes total sense. So what is something that sets you aside from other people out there that do SEO?
Yeah, and SEO is one of those things that I say is, I think it's it's definitely one of those ingredients that I spoke to, but I think it's one of those essential ingredients. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the big things that people, sometimes forget is that SEO is usually a long-term type play. So that's where you're figuring out what those ingredients are. You're understanding the strengths and weaknesses to what SEO is. However, SEO really starts when you have a website, and to some degree, it even starts before that, because even as you're creating, directory listings, like you're building your Facebook page, or you're creating a Twitter account, or you're getting, that local business directory, whatever those things are. The idea of SEO is that when people search for what it is that you provide, your website or your listing or whatever comes up. Now, most people should remember that you want your website to come up because you usually control that. You don't control your Facebook page. You don't control your Twitter account to that degree that you do
Mm-hmm.
usually your website. So I think that really what kind of sets me apart in what we do is that we really try to think strategically about things and have that media company mindset. So I often try to sit down, and the very first time that I sit down with somebody is to really get crystal clear on that. Because I think a lot of times people hear, oh, you need to do SEO. And that probably is the case to some degree. But again, if you go back to those three questions, that may not necessarily be what you want to do today. Or maybe you just want to do, one-time SEO just to make sure everything is set up, rather than the reoccurring SEO projects that you could do. So it's really being honest and understanding that it's a strategy. But I think that not enough, entrepreneurs and business owners kind of do that or are aware of that. They just
Mm-hmm.
hear that they should do X, Y, and Z, and they're kind of more reactive than they are kind of on the offensive.
Yeah, that's very true. We're always thinking about how to increase our sales and things like that, but we
Yeah.
don't realize maybe the SEO and other factors might help out as well.
Mhm.
Awesome. Gresham, so how can somebody reach out to you if they would like to get more information?
I have a couple sites up. I do web design, so I have more than enough sites. But my hub is you can go to greshamharkless.com, and that pretty much has all the different links to the different projects that I'm working on, from the podcast that I have to the blog to Blue 16 Media, where we do the web design and SEO. So all that's pretty much there. But you can go there, blue16media.com or ceoblognation.com.
Perfect. And all the links, of course, will be in the description below. So you can just easily click there and get more information. Awesome. For those of you that don't know me and are listening in today, my name is Lorena Tomasini, and I'm the owner of Mom Life and Health Insurance Agency. We're a mother-daughter duo here in Miami, Florida, where we help other businesses and families with their financial protection. Do everything virtually as well. So it's very easy over the phone, over the computer. We can help you out while you're there in the comfort of your own home. Gresham, it's been great having you on today's 12-Minute Talks podcast. Anything else you would like to add?
No, I mean, I think we covered a good amount of ground. I truly appreciate you, for having me on the show, and everything awesome that you're doing. I love the 12-minute talks because you're always looking for bite-sized information. So I appreciate you for doing what you're doing, and thanks for having me be a small part of it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Gresham. It's been great having you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to this podcast, and hope you will listen to the next one. I'm Lorena Tomasini, and you can contact me via email, life@malmins.com. Make it a great day.